Welcome to the RNR The Stuff podcast where the retro computing, gaming, and hobbies collide.
Hello, world, and welcome back to R&R Does Stuff. And let me tell you, this is a high adventure episode. This is a high retro computing episode. So strap in. I think we might actually go longer than 20 minutes, Ryan. I'm having a feeling.
I think we will. I mean, you did come for a field trip, and boy, did we go on field trips. So, Rich goes to Washington, and let's talk about it.
I tell you, it started real quick with a work visit, and my work's main office is one town away from Ryan. So whenever I do this, I extend my trip or I come in early and I visit with Ryan. And unbelievably, we were going to have a whole Friday together, and we were going to have a whole Saturday, and then I flew out on Sunday. And Friday, we originally went, let's go to the Smithsonian Air and Space. And then on Saturday, System Source Museum in Baltimore, Maryland, was also doing, what do they call it when everybody comes out there to sell stuff? What's it called? Trade days?
The flea market.
Flea market, okay.
Flea market, swap meet. Yeah.
Swap meet. So it was amazing. It was like the stars all aligned for me to not only go to System Source, but to also go to a swap meet day. And then Friday morning started. And what did we find out, Ryan, on Friday morning?
So for those that don't know, there are two air and space museums out here in DC. There's the one downtown, and there's one out by the Dulles Airport. So this is targeting, or all in reference to the one downtown. The one downtown just did a remodel, and they just reopened last year. And they still have a limited number of people that can go in it. So you need to get free tickets. Unfortunately, I failed my due diligence and didn't notice that when we were first talking about it. And all of the tickets for Friday were sold out. Well,
I'm going to give you a thumbs up, though, that in reality, that was a year ago. You could just expect that it's back to normal. Ryan, luckily, in the morning was checking metro times. He was checking parking places. He was checking all those items and saw, oh, God, we have to reserve a space, right? And saved us from an hour and a half metro ride downtown, finding out we can't get in, and an hour and a half metro ride back. So in reality, dude, you saved the day.
Well, and this only really applies to the air and space downtown. Right. The air and space out in Northern Virginia, which is close to where I live, you can just go to it. You don't need a time slot for that one. And you don't need one because we were just in the American History one a couple weeks ago with my wife's family.
Yep.
You just walk right in. Not a big deal. It's just that air and space downtown that I'm aware of. There may be a couple others, but it's just that one. I'm betting it because they just reopened from the remodel. They were closed for a while.
Yeah. So we went to work on iPads. We went to work on iPhones. We went to work everywhere. What could we do instead today? And Atlas Obscura, we looked every place, and we started brainstorming ideas, and we came up with two incredible visits.
We did. So first of all, we went to the Marine Corps Museum in Quantico. It was a lot of fun. Once we started looking at things, it's like, oh, what is there? Amy and I went to a gala there, I don't know, a decade ago or so. It's not a little longer, actually. And it's like, oh, that was really cool. So we went there instead. It's about 50 minutes from my house?
Yep.
Wasn't too bad. So we started off down there on Friday. And what did you think of that? What were your impressions of it?
Unbelievably well done. Imagine everyone a circle, and the museum's in a circle. And all the exhibits are on the outside of the circle. And they built the exhibits to where you don't walk straight. There's a lot of zigzagging that then brings you back to the original circle path. It does such a great job that I don't know how they fit so much into the little slices that we were walking through. They just did a beautiful job of immersing you in each part of the time period. So think of each section as a time of the Marines, right? From the beginning to current. And I'm telling you, the Vietnam exhibit where you walk through a helicopter and come out the back end inside of a huge, it's like you're in the diorama, man. You're in a diorama of the battle that was going on. And they had other ones too that you walked in and they had a film playing and you're surrounded by trees in World War II. Maybe that was World War one. But the level of craftsmanship and presentation was you got to go. If you're listening to this and you can get to Quantico, Virginia, you have got to go to this museum. It is a once in a lifetime kind of visit, if you ask me, about the United States Marine Corps, which we all should be very proud of.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a great time. I mean, it's amazingly expensive of a whole $0. So it is a free museum. In the standard museums, I mean, in the Smithsonian's are free. There are some other museums in the DC metro area that you got to pay for. That's fine. They got to keep the lights on, right? But this one is actually, it's free. So if you're here and you got, a couple hours, go do it. My biggest disappointment with the entire museum is not with the museum itself. It's that Rich outshot me at the range.
Oh yeah. They had that
just by a little bit, but
yeah.
He did it, and I'm like, oh man.
Just call me sharpshooter.
Yeah, I know.
Larry and I could now both be considered sharpshooters because Larry's a sharpshooter too in the Civil War. I was using an M16, so I guess I could be a sharpshooter in the Vietnam era. So maybe next time, Ryan, you can join us. You
were a marksman. So there was a sharpshooter, which I qualified for, and you had the next level up.
I'm even better. Even better. How about that? Ha!
Exactly. So we each had 10 rounds, and it was like a light gun kind of thing. So it was definitely lighter than what not that I've ever picked up an M16, but it's lighter than any other rifle that I've picked up. But it was still really cool.
It was fun.
And they gave you a printout with like what you hit on the target and your score and stuff like that. So it was really good. So it was really well done. That part was a paid piece, just in full disclosure, but highly recommend. It was just fun.
$5.
It was a good time.
It was $5.
Yeah, it's $5 for each of us. So it was great.
It was fun.
So that was a good time.
And speaking of guns, we found another free museum.
Right. So on the way back from the Marine Corps Museum back to my hacienda, there is the NRA Museum's pretty much on the way.
Yeah.
And it was also another free museum. It was actually really cool. It was interesting because the NRA headquarters is like right here in Fairfax, Virginia, which is about a town over from me. You go up there and you're like, okay, you push a little button and the little security guard lets you in. There were not many people in there at all. We were in there for a long time. There were a lot of firearms within that facility.
There'll be a link in the show notes. I'm telling you, the amount of weapons in one place was staggering. Yes. Even at the end, they just lined a bunch of shit up as you're going out the hall. I mean, they were like inch and inch. There were just so many guns. It was unreal. And guns from like Heston's collection and guns from other people's collections. And they also did like kind of a time-based diorama. Mm-hmm. The one thing that made Ryan the most sad at the NRA Museum was, let's see if I got this right.
I couldn't shoot the little metal ducks popping up.
Yes.
They had a toy range where they're the little metal ducks. You'd hit them with, I assume you hit them with a BB gun or something to knock them down. And then it would just go around. It made the noise. It did actually work. I mean, you saw the little ducks go by and stuff. You just couldn't shoot at them.
I think it was a restored 1950s carnival thing. So you know how you walk up nowadays and you try and shoot the little red star out? It was like the one you see in cartoons where there's ducks at the bottom and there's things going up and there's pieces you knock down like plates, like pie plates. Yep. And it was original, restored and working. It was really cool, and Ryan wanted to shoot it.
Oh, I definitely wanted to. I'm like, I want to play with that. It's like, what's going on? So that was the closest thing. I'm like, it's working. Where's the thing that I can shoot the little ducks down with? Can we use airsoft guns? I mean, I don't really care. I just want to hit the little plates. The other thing that would have been really neat to shoot, they did have a range at the NRA, but that was on the other side of the building, and that's a whole different thing. But they had those Gatling guns. I would have loved to have shot one of those Gatling guns and the Tommy gun. Those have been pretty cool. What about you?
I think I really enjoyed the little dioramas they made with period correct weapons.
Oh yeah.
I remember in the Civil War, we had sent Larry some photos, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's that," along those lines. So that was really neat. That they also put some work into it. They had some diorama areas, and then also I think the one it's going to be crazy. The room I liked the most was the movie guns.
Those are cool. I really like those. They had
Scarface.
yeah, there's a lightsaber, but
Yeah,
they actually had the different guns, and then they actually had them labeled from what movie that they were a part of, and they had quite a few of them.
yeah.
It
Reservoir
probably
Dogs was in
was
there.
like what, probably what 40, 50 of them maybe.
Yeah. So
I could be exaggerating. I
yeah,
mean, I didn't count them, but
we saw
it
so
was
many guns, Ryan. It's hard to even know how many guns were anywhere because there were just so many guns.
there were. So if that's your thing and you like taking a look at them and seeing, some of them were so much intricate design on them that they were like pieces of art as well, especially on the side. Especially a lot of those shotguns and stuff were really just the artwork on them. Whatever your love or hate them, it doesn't really. That's not the point. The point is just the art, the machinery. Again, I want to play the carnival toy thing.
Yeah.
That looked awesome. I could have spent some time there. Now I need to go bust out my Wii U version or something like that to play. But that was a good time. I really enjoyed that. So we did that on Saturday or Friday. We did those. We did both those on Friday. I think we went up. We did some other local stuff. Um, we'll get to a little bit else a little later in the episode. We had a really full day on Friday. I kind of packed it in on you, didn't I?
Oh yeah, I was beat. Well, I was ready to go to bed when it was time to go to bed. I was done. It was. We did mini golf too. That was a lot of fun. Played some
Yeah, we
arcade
did.
games, and then we just kind of we'll talk about the food stuff later. But I think that was a great ending to day one, except for the notice we got during the day.
Yes. So the weather was really nice on Friday. Saturday, um, yeah, it was going to rain. So they actually moved the swap meet from Saturday to Sunday. So Rich was unable to go to the swap meet. I ended up going back Sunday. We'll talk about that in a bit. But we did go up Saturday anyway.
Yay! It was one of those, Ryan, that I was like, Ryan, do you still want to go to the museum? And he's like, yeah, still, because I really wanted to go because Doggy's been there, other people have been there. System Source comes up in this retro community of ours all the time, and I had found out before going to System Source, I want to say the week before, Ryan, that a blog posting that I followed from 2019, and I have it linked in the notes about the IBM mainframe. Some guys in England bought from Germany, went to Germany, loaded it up, brought it back to England with restoration hopes. And they would post every 6-8 months, maybe, about an update to the blog entry. COVID hit, things got really slow. The COVID's out, things are really slow. And then I found out in the last blog entry, I always check it randomly. They sold it, donated it, something to System Source. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. It's at the System Source Museum. They had a big opening day for it in 2024 that obviously I hadn't read the blog post since before that in 2024. And I was super excited to see if it was still there. So I was on pins and needles for that hour and a half drive up.
And it was there. I hadn't seen it before, so that area must have opened sometime since the last time I was there, which is really cool because that's some new stuff that I haven't seen. I always love going there. The owner Bob is amazing, super nice guy. I think you were in one of his mini tours.
Yes, I followed around. You were wrapping up with some ham stuff, I think, or no, they were doing repairs on the 5 or 8 inch floppy.
8-inch disc, 8-inch
8 inch,
floppies.
yeah, 8 inch floppies, and you were down there talking to some of the folks and I just kind of left and started checking things out because we were done with the tour. This was us now getting ready to go home, and Bob was walking people through exhibits. And man, great knowledge, a great storyteller. It was really neat to see him in his element, showing off the collection. And by the way, I had no clue how big System Source was. You think about it being in an old office area, right? And you walk around, I can't even tell you the number of assets. I mean, it was unbelievable how much they just packed into one area. And I did get to see the mainframe, and there were even leftover stickers from the 2024 big event. And so I got a leftover sticker from the big 2024 event. So that's really cool too. But yes, if you are in that area, you have got to visit. If you are going there, you have got to get a visit in at System Source. It was definitely worth it. I've been to some really nice museums like the Heinz Nixdorf Museum in Germany, 3 floors, huge, very well done, great presentation of technology and retro equipment. This kind of, I think, challenged it a little bit on the number of assets. I mean, really, the number of things there was incredible. Obviously, at the Heinz Nixdorf, they have 3 floors. Things are really spread out. It's for kids to come. It's for entertain. They have robots that go around. I mean, it has a whole different level of support and funding compared to what Bob's doing. But man, Bob did good. That is a heck of a place. I just can't talk good enough about it, except for I died in Oregon Trail.
You did die. That was your own fault, but you did die. We did play. There had some of it's actually a hands-on museum too, where he'll turn machines on. I know one guy asked to turn on a Next Cube.
Yeah.
And he got the password to it, and he came over and we figured out how to turn it on, and then he had the password to boot it up. We got to play Oregon Trail. It was on that Apple II. And we played the entire thing. We actually, 2 of 5 of us got to the end.
We had everyone, hold on. Larry, you died. I'm sorry. You got dysentery and you died on the trip. And myself and my fiance, we were the other 2, so Rich and Sarah. And then Ryan and Amy joined. Well, I killed myself and Amy in a water crossing because I made a bad decision. Then Larry died of dysentery. And so Ryan married my fiance in California, in the Oregon Trail. When they finally made it, Ryan and Sarah got married, and they started off a life, and they named their children after all of us. So they have a little Larry, and they got a little Rich and a little Amy on their farm. So, I mean, I guess all's well that ends well, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was it was so neat. It's been so long since I played that game. It was great.
Everybody came by and talked with us playing Oregon Trail because of the noises it makes. And we were on an Apple II. Was it an Apple II we were on? It was
an Apple II.
Yeah, it was an Apple II we were on. So
I don't know what model.
Yeah, it was a disc. We had to flip the disc over. We were playing off a disc.
Yeah, it was a good time. So System Source doesn't just have vintage computers. They now also host a radio museum in the same building. So half of it, over half of it, is the vintage computer side. And I saw there's like this duct tape piece down through the one room, and then everything on the other side is like radio related. I think there was a cruise missile in there, a radar dome.
Using radar and other versions of sonar were also there. I told Ryan, I think the big black line was probably for accounting purposes, that this many square feet are for that place and this many square feet are for that place. I just immediately thought of taxes is when I saw that line, because we all just did taxes.
Yes, probably. And they actually have a working ham shack there too. We were there. There was a ham radio group there, and they were on the HF radio tuning around. So it's really good. Also, can't talk enough good things about System Source. I am so lucky to be that close to it, and I like going up there periodically and just seeing the place. It's just so cool.
It is very neat. Now, I didn't get to go to the flea market trade days, and so I was sad because someone even listed some Commodore stuff that I was interested in. So I was really excited to see. Ryan, the next morning, took me off to the airport, and my flight went perfect, man. I was on time. Transfers went fine. Got home on time. Everything was perfect. Ryan, I think you made another hour-and-a-half drive on Sunday.
Hour-and-a-half drive up and a little over 2 hours back because, DC Metro traffic is amazing.
It was so congested.
Oh my! Well, it was worse on Sunday when I was coming back. I'll tell you that, for just miles. But anyway, that's just reality of living here. It is what it is. I got to the flea market at the tail end. So I got there like, I don't know, 20 after 11 ish or so.
Yeah.
And I started just walking around, said hi to a couple of people and said, I'll come back. I want to go see what's still here. Because we saw online, there's like a spreadsheet. People can say what they're going to bring and rough prices, stuff like that. And there's an SX64 there on the spreadsheet. And I wandered around and it's like, oh, I found an SX64. Well, I found out there were two SX64s that day. The one from the spreadsheet I'd already sold. I came back around, and says, "Hey, what do tell me about this thing?" And took a whole bunch of photos. Luckily, Rich had some Wi-Fi on the flight, and I'm like, "Hey, this thing looks pretty decent. He says it works."
Buy it. Buy it. Buy it.
And I bought
Buy
it.
it. Buy it. Buy it.
And it was funny because I bought it, and one guy's coming over. I'm holding it, handing him money and holding it. Guy's coming over. He's like, "Oh, I guess I'm too late to talk you out of buying anything." And I'm like, yeah. It was really kind of funny. I then stopped, and that was our buddy Ben said that, and was going by and talked to Ethan a little bit on the way because he had his booth shortly afterwards. I'm taking to the car and talked to Ben. I'm like, I gotta put this down for a second. This thing weighs a lot. And they're like, how much does it weigh? So they were all holding it and like, oh wow. So it is not a light machine. It's about 20, a little under 24 pounds.
Yeah. I think I guessed 30 by just guess. And
yes.
You said it was like 25. Yeah, you said you were really close.
You were close because it was 30 with all the packing material because I shipped it to you. It was 30 pounds shipped.
Now, before he shipped it, we had a FaceTime call. And Ryan did some initial testing. How did that testing go? And I'll tell about the testing when I got it here.
The testing went pretty well. We were, setting everything up. I don't have the video set up that Rich does in his on his bench. So we're using my kitchen table. And using the video off of an iPad and with like stuff wedged in it. I didn't take any pictures of that, but it was kind of like, all right, what thing can I wedge in there to actually get the right video? We plugged it in, turned it on. It came on.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, boop, there it is, the little monitor.
CRT worked. The little baby mini CRT worked.
Yeah. It was missing the original keyboard cable. So the guy had made his own. I think he said he just like hacked it must have been a 6-foot cable.
Yeah.
And just pinned it out to fit in underneath the SX64. So some of the keys were they didn't always work, or they worked sometime. It was a little laggy in that aspect. They're like, okay, this is a Rich problem. And there was like 3 floppies in there, and none of those could work. It's like, okay.
Maybe the drive was bad.
Yeah, I had no idea. But overall, it was like, well, that seems insurmountable in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So we did a little video, which I'm pretty sure that's going to drop on your channel sometime in the future here.
Yes.
If you get it edited before this goes, we'll put it in the show notes. Otherwise, no. Okay. Otherwise, in a future episode, we'll bring it up just so we can put the link in. Perfect. That's awesome. He's like, no. Like, hard no. And it got there. It got there yesterday.
Yeah.
From our recording date. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's on Friday. We're recording Friday. It showed up Thursday, and Ryan packed it like a beautiful baby. It was so perfect. It was wrapped in tape to where if there was any water, it was waterproof. You could have floated that thing across a river on the way to the Oregon Trail. That's how waterproof it was. And so,
you mean like what you should have done before you got yourself killed?
Let's not talk about my disasters in Oregon Trail.
Okay, I'm just saying. I mean, floating seemed to be the idea, right?
And Ryan wouldn't let me touch the keyboard after I died. He was like, "No, you're dead. I'm in charge now."
You're dead, dude. And you're like, oh.
So I got it all unpacked and I turned it on. And what's unbelievable is I have a replacement SX64 keyboard cable I bought from eBay. So I took off the hodgepodge cable and I put on a replacement cable. Keyboard, super responsive. It definitely needs a cleaning. It looks like the right side has sunk in a little bit, so there may be some standoff issues. There were a few keys that maybe I had to press twice, but like when Ryan typed load $8 to see if the drive worked, it took him like many presses and pressing hard.
Yes.
I used it like I was using a C64 keyboard, just clickety clackety clickety, and maybe one key didn't pick up the first time, right? The shift on the right side needs a lot of love. The shift on the left side's perfect. And so, it was seconds for me to do the same thing. I put in a different disc and it worked. I ran Red Storm Rising on the smallest monitor ever possible on the SX64. The audio worked. So the drive works, the audio works. I went and got a cassette. The cassette port works. I went and got a joystick. The joystick port works.
That's awesome.
I haven't tested the rest, like video out and an external relay device or external serial device. But with all those other pieces working, bro, I think this whole thing works.
Yes.
And I'm telling you guys, this was a shade higher in price compared to what I bought one without a keyboard that has audio issues. So this deal is good. I'm not going to say it's great. It's a good deal. And so I'm super happy. I still, we can talk about my keyboard in a minute. Last thoughts on the SX? I was super happy, man.
The biggest thing for me, I always wanted an SX64. So I've had my experience with it and I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm ready to ship it to Rich. But the biggest thing is I'm not used to, you don't have an upper and lower case on the 8-bits. So I'm hitting the shift key to try to get things. I'm getting goofy characters. And I'm like, oh, that's the pet ASCII. I'm like, crap. I'm like, why does that not look like, and stupidly, the L looked like, I think there's a bar shows up. And I'm like, well, that's a weird looking L. And you got a 3-inch screen, right? So I hit shift and L and I'm like, is that really an L or is that just a line and they're on the same key? That messed me up a little bit. I'm not used to I grew up with a PET, then a 64, 128, then the Amiga. As you all know, my love is the Amiga, but I still have a part of me for the 64 and the PET stuff. I don't use it on a regular basis. So like, how does this work again?
Yeah.
It's just interesting. But it
and
was
you
really
had to
cool.
play with all the contrast things so I could see it on camera.
Yeah.
It made it very hard to see in person. So you had some more complexities, but I was not expecting this complete of a unit. Like, it's just there. I'm going to take the keyboard apart, clean everything, see what's going on with that resting right side. But, more keyboard problems, Ryan. More keyboards. And speaking of more keyboards, I've been sending Ryan pictures all week. I have made my own version of a SX64 where I had a bunch of leftover pins and DB25s. And so I've made my own version of that cable. And then today I just finished, Ryan, the Commodore 64. I cut its leads off of its black piece, and I put female adapters on there for the male adapters that are on the keyboard cable.
Nice.
So now my testing is going to be spot on, and I'm going to be able to finish this up this weekend. I'm going to wrap this up, and either this works or I'm just done with this idea, and I've got a spare SX64 for parts because the other one's going to take my place in my museum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you can get that working. It's just going to be the right pins going to the right place and knowing that that's actually happening. I think I have complete confidence. I like this approach. I like what's happening. And I'm just happy that you now have a complete SX64 one, but now you're going to have a second one that's like, you can do some things. I still want to see you make that extra cable for that C64 one. Find a way to lift the keyboard out and maybe 3D print a case for it, or get an acrylic one made so it's see-through.
And by the way,
actually fit in on this SX64.
Speaking of 3D printing, another thing Ryan did for me, and you guys can't see this, but he printed for me a Ken Bach 1 case for my HackerBach emulation Ken Bach 1 kit. So now my Ken Bach 1 now has a box that makes it look like a very small version of the original. And so that worked out perfect, Ryan. Thanks for printing that. I threw it in my carry-on and my check bag, and it made it, and it's beautiful. It made it in beautiful shape.
No, I'm glad it did. It looks really good on your shelf there. I'm glad we thought about it like late, and it was
Oh,
printed.
that's right.
So I was having some issues. I have a really old Raspberry Pi drive my 3D printer, so I don't have to just put SD cards in. And it got mad, but when you reboot it, it's like a Pi 1 or
Oh,
Pi
geez.
0, or so it's like the ancient one. You reboot it, it's like 15 minutes before Octoprint comes up and it's all happy and stuff. I'm like, okay, great. We started printing it Saturday night. It finished printing 10 minutes after when we wanted to leave to the airport, which we gave ourselves time. So we weren't rushing in any aspect. At least I don't think we were.
No.
So it just finished and like, here you go. You threw it in your bag and off we went.
Yeah, it literally, when we wanted to leave, I think we waited 1 or 2 extra minutes based upon, and by the way, you all know what we do. We planned out our trip to leave to the airport where there was plenty of time, and we planned it all. So that we probably still had 10, 15 minutes we could have waited. But yeah, it was unbelievable. Just at the right moment of time, it finished, and I was gone. So that kind of wrapped everything up except for food.
Now, in tradition, the last couple trips I've gone to Texas, we've gone through different barbecue places and reviewed them. So, in that same tradition, decided that we would actually do the same thing here, but in reverse order. So, Rich is coming to Northern Virginia and doing barbecue.
Yeah, you're fixing yeah, there we go. I was just going to bring that up. I'm looking at a shared doc. And so we have the 3 names. We have Willard's, we have Hammer Down, and we have Mission Barbecue. And if you're in that region, I think Ryan stacked this deck with some of the best barbecue in his region. Because sometimes I throw one in that's kind of like, let's see what he thinks of our gas station barbecue, right? Or what's he think of this one? Dude, these were all excellent. This was the problem. I had the first one and was like, oh, this is going to be really tough to beat. And I had the second one. I'm like, oh, this is really hard. And I had the third one. I'm like, dude, you screwed me. These were all from barbecue places. So we had to make a ranking. And I'm going to start with the bottom. And that was Hammer Down. So Hammer Down was that was the second one we went to, right?
Yeah, that's the one that's actually for reference. All of these are really close to my house too. So when we go to Texas, sometimes there's driving involved.
So Hammer Down was the lowest, and it only had to be the lowest because other things had to be the best, right? Other things had to be 1 and 2. Something had to be 3. Hammer Down got 3, and by the way, we ordered all the same food. I'd ordered all the same food at all the same places. And
what was that?
The pulled pork in the East Coast is so much better than pulled pork in Texas. Just downright, hands down, better pulled pork. And then one of them I got a rib. I don't think I got ribs after that. Basically brisket along with that, and beans and mashed potatoes. And another place threw a sausage in, and I stole a couple sausages here and there. Links, cut up links. But I'm telling you, I kept to that format. And so Hammer Down came in last place. Maybe the beef was maybe a little fattier than I like. I don't know. Maybe, their sauces were really good, though. They had great sauces.
Yes. I think you like the sauces there the best, if I remember.
They had some really kicking ones at Hammer Down. So good. I mean, it is great. It is great. It's a great number 3. And then number 2 had to be Mission Barbecue. And that one was right on line with Hammer Down. It was right in line. There was not too much of an appreciable difference. It was just a little bit different than Hammer Down, but it was just still unbelievably good. Those 2 really could have both been second place. But the one that was first, the one that stole my heart on the first day.
Yeah, we started there.
Was Willard's, yeah. Willard's. That was, I mean, unbelievable. That everything was Everything was juicy. Everything was tasty. They did have the rib. Oh man, and it was the best deal. I didn't even Amy was worried. She was like, "You're not going to judge us based on best deal, right?" Because it was the best deal. It was 4 things for $14. I had sausage, I had pulled pork, I had barbecue, I had a rib, and I had sides. And it was, all of them were good. And so Willard's, I think, just wins the day. I think their barbecue is just better. I think their pulled pork was just better than the other two. I mean, when I talk about the other two fighting for second, this one was first. There was no fighting for first between the other ones for this one. How does that rank in your world of rankings?
I really, really like Willard's quite a bit. That's like the place I like going to.
Yeah.
It's right down the street. It's, super close, which is great. And I just really like it. I think they do a good barbecue. So that is my number one spot.
Yay! Ryan and I match up again, because we match up a lot on our other ones, even down here. When when I throw some mid-tier at you, and you're like, "Oh, Rich, I don't know," and I'm like, "Okay, it's good. I gave you a mid-tier. This isn't a great one." And then when I give you the good one, it usually comes through pretty good. So yeah.
And they're a local place. They're a local. They have 2 locations here in Northern Virginia. They're a local. It's local. My number 2, I actually like Mission as my number 2 spot. Also close to my house, which is, convenient. They're actually an East Coast chain.
Oh, whoa. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mission Barbecue is an East Coast chain.
Huh.
So they're not just unique to Northern Virginia. I don't remember where they started. I could probably go look. But they're good. I like them. I like the option you can get lean brisket. They have lean and fatty brisket. I like the lean. Really like their pulled pork. I love some of their sauces. Their Memphis Belle sauce is my favorite. It's like a sweet and tangy kind of thing. It's just good. Hammerdown's also a local place. I believe they started as a food truck that converted into a location.
I can see why, because it's good. And I tell you what,
really good.
The other thing about Mission Barbecue, the service, the people were exemplary. Is that a right word? Yes. Exemplary. They were so nice. They worked with you. When they gave you your food, they did the check. They opened it up and checked right with you. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you ordered? So many places just throw it in a bag and say, good luck. Willard threw it in a bag and send it on. Perfectly fine. Perfectly okay that they did that. Mission, wow, they really had some customer service.
Well, but to Willard's point, I asked them, I have some food allergies, dairy, stuff like that. So I was asking them, like, what has milk, what doesn't? And they were all over it. You can have this.
Yeah.
They didn't put the white bread in with the other stuff because it's got milk in it. So they were really conscious of the allergies once we talked through that. So while you didn't get the whole check aspect, I've never had anything.
Oh, I'm not knocking Willard's, man. I'm not knocking
Willard's.
I'm just saying the Mission people were smiley, happy, out of their way, all in your face. They took customer service to the next level. They really did. And that doesn't mean the other places had bad customer service. It's just they weren't, in my mind, the top customer service. If that
buy that.
So, dude, hopefully we've made you all very hungry out there. And you're ready to go to your best barbecue place. Like and subscribe. Tell us down below where your favorite barbecue place is. So maybe the next time we're in town, because Ryan and I might have a Chicago trip, we need to find some barbecue in Chicago next.
I think we do. That would be actually really good.
Yeah, maybe we'll tell them about the Chicago trip in the future. Maybe another episode we'll share that with them.
I think we will. We'll leave that as a cliffhanger.
All right, well, that's all I have today, everyone. Get out there and go buy some barbecue.
Have some barbecue. If you're on the East Coast, go to System Source. Can't say it enough. And, have fun retro.
Bye.